Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Alhamdulillah, this is the first time we're meeting in the month of Rajab. In addition to being one of the months that's associated with prayer and a lot of spiritual growth, Rajab also marks a lot of very important dates, specifically 3 birthdays for Imams. Imam Muhammad Baqir, the first to be born during this month, Imam Muhammad Baqir. And finally, on the 13th of Rajab, we have the birthday of Imam Ali.
So the 27th of Rajab?
On the 27th of Rajab, we have Imam. Though we live in a time where we can't directly, physically access the Imam of our time, we are blessed with having the examples, the words, life stories, and the guidance of all 12 Imams available to us readily. And as we're currently facing, yet again, a difficult situation as Muslims, we need a message of unity. So in honor of his upcoming birthday, I selected a letter of Imam Ali's, specifically letter 53 from the Nahj al-Balagh. Though the translation is a little imperfect, the message is better and truer than anything that I could have said on unity. So this letter, it is written to Malik al-Ashdari, and it deals with the duties and obligations of a ruler. This was written on the occasion of Malik being sent as a governor. So it talks about the chief responsibilities, the priorities, the rights, responsibilities, and the method of justice for a new ruler. And a lot of these messages, though they're aimed to a ruler, they're very relevant to us today. The main idea running through the entire letter is that of Allah and His justice. The regime that he is laying in this letter is that of Allah's. The governor and the governed people are both creatures of Allah, and all the duties are those specifically given to us by Allah Himself. So in short, this letter is the message of justice, written by the voice of justice, to explain the ultimate justice of Allah, which we have in the Holy Quran. So he begins, I order you, Malik, always to keep the fear of Allah in your mind, to give priority to His worship, and to give preference to obeying His commands over every other thing in life, to carefully and faithfully follow the commandments and interdictions as are given by the Holy Book and the traditions of the Holy Prophet. He goes on to say, I order you to use your head, heart, hands, and tongue to help the creatures of Allah. We might find ourselves at a loss. What could we possibly do? How can we bring unity about in this time? He tells us here to use 4 things: our heads, our minds, our hearts, our hands, and our tongue. He goes on to say, let it be known to you, Malik, that I'm sending you as a governor to a country which has seen many regimes before this. The world indeed has seen many religions, many civilizations before Islam and Muslims. Some of them were benign, sympathetic, and good, while others were tyrannical, oppressive, and cruel. People will judge your regime as critically as you have studied the activities of other regimes, and they will criticize you in the same way as you have censured or approved other rulers. So we'll be under the same scrutiny. You must know that a good and virtuous man is known and recognized by the good that is said about him, and the praise which Allah has destined him to receive from others. Remember that the best way to do justice to your inner self and to keep it out of harm is to restrain it from vice and from other things which the self inordinately and irrationally desires. Now this part is important. Remember, Malik, that among your subjects there are 2 kinds of people. Those who have the same religion as you have, they are brothers to you, and they have religions, and those who have religions other than yours. They are human beings like you. Men of either category suffer from the same weaknesses and disabilities that human beings are inclined to. They commit sins, indulge in vices, either intentionally or foolishly, and unintentionally without realizing the enormity of their needs. Let your mercy and compassion come to their rescue, and help in the same way and to the same extent that you expect Allah to show mercy and forgiveness to you. Now to skip through the letter, which is one of the longer letters that I've read, he goes on to give a few pointers on the policies to set as a ruler. You must always appreciate and adopt a policy which is neither too severe nor too lenient. A policy which is based on equality will be largely appreciated. Remember that the displeasure of common men, the have-nots, and the depressed people more overbalances than the approval of important persons. So he goes on to say the differences between these two groups of people that we always seem to look to for approval. We look to important persons, to big people above us, and sometimes we forget the common man. So this is what Imam Ali says about that. Remember, Malik, that usually these big personages are mentally the scum of the human society. They are the people who will be the worst drag upon you during your moments of peace and happiness, and the least useful to you during your hours of need and adversity. About the common man, he says, the common men, the poor, and apparently the less important section of your subjects are the pillars of Islam. They are the real assemblage of Muslims and the power and defensive force against the enemies of Islam. Keep your mind on their affairs. Be more friendly with them and secure their trust and goodwill, rather than looking to people who might give you importance, but not really truly need it. He goes on to say about the practices of the society before you. Do not give up those practices, and do not break those rules which have evolved or introduced before you, which have created unity and amity among the various sections of the society, and which have benefited the masses. Do not break them, and do not introduce innovations, because if you do away with those good rules and traditions, the reward of having introduced them will go to those who evolved them, and the punishment of having despoiled them will be your lot. Then he goes on finally, in the end of this letter, he explains about the duties that a ruler has to Allah. So far he's explained about the duties of the people who are being ruled over, being governed, how to deal with them. But in the end, this is one of the most beautiful pieces of advice. Among those duties that you are to perform diligently must be your daily prayers. Those should be offered sincerely and persistently. You must tax your bodily strength for this duty, though it might tire you. Your observance of prayers should be sincere and faultless, and should neither be so long as to tire out those who follow you in those prayers, nor so short as to be faulty and defective, because among those who follow you during the prayers, there may be some sick people, while others may have to tend to some important work. When the Holy Prophet sent me to Yemen, I asked him how to lead the prayers. He advised me, offer prayers like a weak and old person, and be kind to the faithful. He ends by saying, you must take care not to cut yourself off from the public. Do not place a curtain of false prestige between you and those over whom you rule. Such pretensions and show of pomp and pride are in reality manifestations of inferiority complex. Be fair in dispensing justice. Punish those who deserve punishment, even though he may be your near relation or a close friend. And even if such an action may give you pangs of sorrow and grief, bear such a sorrow patiently, and hope for divine reward. I assure you this will bear good fruit.
It's such a beautiful khutbah of Imam alayhi salam. As of course the way that he puts it always, that remember, all of us have to remember the same thing. Remember, when you're dealing with the people, we have two kinds of people. Either brethren in Islam or human in your race. Therefore respect them both and deal with them justly. I never forget when the time that there was a delegations, President of Pakistan went to Iran to visit Imam Khomeini, and they were talking about some politics. The Salat of Maghrib and Isha was the fastest Salat that he made in order to come up to do whatever that they're supposed to do for the rest of the Ummah. So you see what's happening here. Who are your ma'moom? Pay attention to all of these things. If we take all of that and then come to our today's life, you probably know, after the huge crime of 2 weeks ago regarding the shrine of Hujr ibn Adi, they call it Oday al-Adi, I don't know either one of them that it is. You will see, I don't know how many of you have seen it, that the same kind of people that they are supposed to go ahead and take over Syria. Not only Syria, of course. The aim is from Syria to the rest of the world anyway, by the international elements. I don't know how many of you have seen it. It really makes you sick to see that after these people have gone to a city and then captured some of the soldiers, one of the soldiers of the Syrians, it shows it. Now they put it as a evidence for themselves into the YouTube, but everybody looks at it. He puts him down as he killed him, Then he has a sharp knife in his hand. Then he goes from his belly, tears it up to his chest, opens up, brings a heart out, brings a liver out, and he says, Allahu Akbar. This is his heart, this is his liver, and he bites it. Look at that. This is how, unfortunately, the human race can go so low, can become so bad. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. The lowest of the low. This is where we have this kind of people that they are really, they call themselves what? With the name of Allahu Akbar. Yeah. And so these are the type of the people, unfortunately, that they want to not only destroy the Hujr ibn Ali or Uday's grave, but in reality to get rid of all these justices of Imam Ali. You know what they're talking about. They said that we will have to go ahead and one day to destroy the shrine of Ali. That is what they said. You go back to the time of the Ashura. When Zainab Salamullah alayha, in the Asr of Ashura, he is looking at all of the bodies of the people that they are all over, scattered all over. Then she goes and she says to Imam Sajjad alayhi salam that don't look at these things, that it is like that. A day shall come that the highest flag of the Ummah will be put right here and thousands of people will come. It is a reality that after that the Abbasid came and what they have done to the shrine of, to the grave of Imam Hussein, that they said it shouldn't be existing at all here and nobody should come. The same concept, now it is coming to our society. You know how dumb can they be? When you see that how many times the grave of Imam Ali alayhi salam, for how long it was secret? Almost 100 years. And then, now today, millions, 20 millions, more than that, they walk from his shrine to the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Why can't we go ahead and look at these things that, no doubt, whatever that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the light that He turns down, no kafir can shut it off. And for sure, it is on to go, and then for sure the victory is due to Muslims anyway. One more area. How many of you, probably many of you have gone and seen the shrine of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Najaf? Or you have seen. Many of you probably have gone to Syria, have seen the grave of Muawiyah. Right? Yeah, I've seen it. I have seen it. It's nothing filthy and dusty. It is, of course, they made it, and nobody goes in it. But look at the shrine of Imam Ali. Millions and millions of people that they go, and billions of people that they love him, and this is where the word is staying. Nahj al-Balagha stays, even though they don't want it. And no doubt, the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will stay, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the Kayd al-Shaytan, Kana layfa. From the beginning that Shaitan was made, was weak. And today we will see the same weakness. To an extent that, alhamdulillah, for these things that they showed it, and when they, you become in fact degraded by looking at this. This is a human being, and I'm a human being too. Look at this human being. He kills a soldier, he tears up his stomach, he pulls up his heart and his liver, and he says, Allahu Akbar, he bites it. Look at that. No animal can do things like that to each other. And then, these are the type of people that they call themselves Muslims. Of course, unfortunately, I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a vision that we separate the concept completely separate the concept of Wahhabism and Salafism from the Sunnis. So do not, because that is what they taught themselves. And no, it is not. The same idea that Baha'ism is not Shi'i, Wahhabism is not Sunni. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we have Shaykh Jalil with us. And so we will benefit from his knowledge. Jazakallah khair, Sister Khadija Zayd, may Allah inshallah be pleased with you. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.